We're living in an age of, well, technological miracles. I mean, AI is changing just about everything, and we all carry supercomputers around in our pockets. And yet, for a lot of us, economic progress feels kind of stuck. So today, we're going to dig into that weird contradiction, the AI productivity paradox.
Now, seriously, think about it. Your phone has way more computing power than NASA had to land on the moon. We have AI that can create stunning art, write code. It feels like we're living in the future, right? So why don't the economic numbers seem to match all that technological hype? What's going on?
All right, so let's break this down. The core of this whole problem is really a tale of two completely different realities. On one hand, you've got the story of soaring, incredible technological optimism. And on the other hand, you have a story told by some, frankly, really disappointing economic data.
I mean, the optimism from the people actually building this future, it's off the charts. You hear leaders like Eric Schmidt, and they aren't just talking about small incremental improvements. They see a fundamental shift for all of humanity, an age of intelligence and abundance.
And it's not just one person saying this. You've got tech visionaries like Bill Gates, who have been saying for years that the pace of change is scarily fast. This is what fuels the hype, this belief that we are right on the edge of a massive leap forward for society.
And look, this isn't just talk. We can see it in the data. Just look at this chart. It shows AI performance on a really tough image recognition challenge. In just 6 years, that's it, AI went from making mistakes over 30% of the time to be more accurate than a human. That's exponential progress right there in front of your eyes. But then there's this number, 1.3%. What is that? Well, that was the average annual growth in U.S. labor productivity between 2005 and 2016, a period with all this incredible tech advancement. And that growth rate, it's less than half of what it was the decade before. This, right here, is the heart of the paradox. So let's put it side by side. It's this massive, glaring disconnect. On the left, you've got AI capabilities just exploding, growing exponentially. On the right, you have economic productivity and what a typical person earns basically flatlining. How can both of these things possibly be true at the same time?
Okay, to solve this mystery, we've got to play detective. We need to investigate the clues. And economists have a few big theories that could explain what's really going on here. So let's walk through them one by one.
The first possibility, clue number one, is that the revolution is happening, but our old-school economic tools just can't see it. Maybe things like GDP were designed for an economy based on factories, not a digital one filled with free services and, value you can't really touch or hold.
A key part of this measurement problem is something called recognition lag. Basically, it's the delay in actually seeing what's happening in the official data. We're always looking in the rearview mirror, which is a huge problem when technology is flooring it into the future.
A perfect recent example of this was the COVID-19 recession. The economy basically fell off a cliff in February of 2020. But the official call, the declaration that we were in a recession, didn't come out until June. That's a 4-month delay in knowing what was happening in real time.
And this connects to a much bigger issue. Our first look at economic data is almost always just a rough draft. Those initial reports you see in the news, they often get revised, sometimes by a lot, months or even years down the road. So it's totally possible the gains from AI are there, but the official numbers just haven't caught up yet.
But what if the problem isn't our ruler? What if we've actually stopped growing as fast as we used to? This leads us to a second, and honestly a more pessimistic theory. Have we simply run out of the truly massive ideas that powered the last century of growth?
This is often called the low-hanging fruit theory, and it's an idea championed by the economist Tyler Cowen. He argues that the incredible growth of the 20th century was fueled by these huge, one-time-only breakthroughs. Things like harnessing electricity, building modern sanitation, putting cars everywhere, and dramatically raising education levels. The gains were absolutely massive, but you can't do them twice.
So Cowen's point is that we're kind of conditioned to expect new technology to automatically create this huge wave of economic growth. But he argues that even something as revolutionary as the internet hasn't produced the same kind of broad-based money-making opportunities as, say, the auto industry did. It creates immense value, sure, but in a way that's harder to measure and maybe less economically explosive.
So, is it that we're measuring things wrong? Or is it a true stagnation?
Well, according to some groundbreaking research from the National Bureau of Economic Research, the biggest piece of this puzzle is probably neither of those. It's something else entirely.
The verdict seems to be that the revolution isn't canceled. It's just delayed. The single biggest reason for this productivity paradox is simply the time it takes for a truly powerful world-changing technology to completely reshape the entire economy.
And the key concept here is called implementation lag. Now, this is different from the recognition lag we talked about before. That's about the delay in measuring the economy. No, this is about the delay in actually changing the economy. It's the gap between inventing something amazing, like AI, and society figuring out how the heck to use it effectively.
Think of it happening in 4 stages. First, you invent the technology. Easy enough. Then, it starts to spread. But the real magic, the stuff that actually makes us richer, that happens in stages 3 and 4. And those can take decades. You have to invent all the other things that make the core tech useful. New skills, new supply chains, new business models. You have to completely reorganize how work gets done. And with AI, we're probably just now entering these crucial, messy final stages.
And this whole process creates what economists call a J-curve. It's kind of counterintuitive, but productivity might actually go down at first. Why? Because companies are spending a ton of money and time on new systems, on training, on reorganizing everything, and they're not seeing the benefits right away. It's only after that painful investment period that productivity finally shoots upward, forming the shape of a J.
So, we've looked at the clues, we've reached a verdict. But why does any of this matter to you? Let's bring it all home and break down the key takeaways from this entire mystery.
So, what should you really take away from all this? First, be patient, not pessimistic. The big economic boom from AI is probably still on its way. Second, always be a little skeptical of those headline economic numbers. They're often telling you yesterday's story. And finally, and this is the most important one, the real winners won't just be the people who invent AI. They'll be the people and the companies who figure out how to reorganize work and create new value around AI. That's where the real opportunity is.
So if this paradox teaches us anything, it's that history moves in waves, and we're probably in the trough just before a massive one builds. The productivity benefits of AI aren't lost, they're just lagging. The only real question is when that wave finally hits, will we have learned how to surf?